I want to talk a little bit about corporate media's normalization of authoritarianism, which I believe is going to be very relevant over the next 4 years. Uh, with Donald Trump's second term about to kick off, it's really more important than ever to understand how the US media normalizes authoritarianism. The framing and the tone and the focus of reporting on Donald Trump's policies and behavior play a major role in shaping public perception and also in manufacturing consent, in reducing horrible authoritarian overreaches to mere policy disagreements. And what I don't want to see is us fall into the same traps that helped Donald Trump during his first term. Think back to that first term when Trump separated families at the border. The media's response would often fixate on the logistics. You know, Trump is struggling to manage the backlash to his zero tolerance policy. What about the human cost? What about the authoritarian impulse behind that policy of family separation and the sort of clerical use of cruelty as a deterrent? That got buried under political analysis, as if it were just another routine policy debate. Here are the logistics of separating families at the border, and it's just kind of like a very, there's no reason to be worried beyond just how do you manage such a policy? And the same thing happened with Trump's constant attacks on the press. The headlines would say, Trump is a very fierce critic of the media. Trump's breaking norms by saying, I don't like what Jim Acosta asked me. He's banned from the White House press room, for example. Trump was systematically undermining a free press, which is a cornerstone of democracy in general and a cornerstone of the framework of the United States. And even the media itself, which was being attacked by Trump, would say he's punching back at his perceived critics. And it makes it sound kind of like an edgy, tough guy strategy rather than the dangerous attempt to erode accountability that really motivated Trump's attacks on the media. And so that was the first term. And now Trump is gearing up for a second term. And to a degree, corporate media is already falling into familiar patterns. When Trump unveiled plans to reinstate Schedule F, which is this mechanism for purging the federal workforce of those that he deems disloyal, a lot of outlets sort of use the anodyne phrase, reshaping the federal bureaucracy, always using the term bureaucracy as a sort of pejorative or as a negative. It's sort of like calling arsonists engaged in remodeling efforts, right? When they decide to burn a house down. This is not bureaucratic tinkering. What Vivek and Elon and Trump plan to do is really laying the groundwork for consolidating power. And they've said it. It's about turning federal agencies into tools of personal loyalty to Donald Trump. Corporate media is failing you on this. It's just failing you. Now, corporate media's ratings, for the most part, are down dramatically since the election, but that's a different story. One other example, Trump's recent rally announcement. We talked about it earlier that he's doing this rally on January 19th. Instead of really grappling with the fact that Trump is, even though he won and he has no more presidential races to run, instead of really saying, wait a second, Trump even now is finding ways to whip his base into a frothy frenzy with violent rhetoric and recreating a very similar event to what led to the Trump riots in 2021. They talk about the expected crowd size and the slogans and how this is a rally that might be used to preemptively boost his popularity and have him enter office with a higher approval rating. It's the same very dangerous superficial playbook, which is you treat it like theater instead of really interrogating the authoritarianism that lurks beneath what Trump is doing. Now, why do I bring it up now on January 2nd, 2025, 18 days from Trump's second term? Well, that's exactly why. Because Donald Trump's second term is shaping up to be even more dangerous than the first. He's surrounded himself with loyalists and he's doubling down on the grievance politics. He's explicitly promising to weaponize government against enemies. And after Matt Gaetz's nomination to AG failed, now it's Pam Bondi, another hardcore Trump loyalist who's slated, at least potentially, to become Attorney General. So the reason I'm bringing it up now is we're beyond 2024. We're 18 days from the inauguration. Trump's telling us what he's going to do, and the stakes really couldn't be higher. And the media's role is either going to be, we're going to expose this behavior as authoritarian, or we're going to enable it. And it's going to make a big difference. I can do everything possible on my show, but it's just one show. And I just don't have the reach that corporate media has in sum total. And if corporate media continues to sanitize Trump's actions and looking at these authoritarian moves as, oh, it's a controversial move. It's an unusual choice, focusing on the strategy over the consequences, then Trump's effort to dismantle the democratic norms he wants to dismantle is going to slide under the radar. And we saw it to a degree in the first term, and we're potentially heading that way here. So what can we do? Number one, I'm doing what I can to tell you, recognize these patterns in media coverage. When you see it, when you see the corporate media using euphemism and false equivalency and false neutrality to cover naked authoritarianism, you reach out to them and you say, what the hell are you doing? For as long as you continue covering this stuff in this way, I'm tuning out. Demand better from the media outlets that you are seeing this stuff happen on. And maybe most importantly, stay engaged, because Trump's strategy depends on people either tuning out or becoming desensitized to what he's doing. The media will shallowly cover it, and that will make it worse. But if you understand how corporate media coverage is normalizing the authoritarianism, you're not just better equipped when it comes to media literacy, you're better equipped to foment democracy. And so we can't let corporate media frame Trump's second term as just the second of two chapters in a political theater. Because if we do that, we will very quickly lose the sense that this is not politics as usual. It's authoritarianism. We need to call it what it is before it's too late. Winter is the perfect time to cozy up at home with some freshly baked treats like flaky pastries, hearty breads, comforting pastas, and you can do it without any effort. Our sponsor, Wild Grain, is the first Bake from Frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, pastries, and pastas. Wild Grain simply takes the hassle out of baking. Everything bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. No mess or cleanup. Your family will be amazed, thinking you've become a master bread baker all of a sudden. My favorite is the croissants. You throw them in the oven, 25 minutes. Wow. If you're ready to bring all your favorite breads, pastas, and pastries right to your doorstep, check out Wild Grain. You can build your box of artisanal pastries, breads, and everything right now. And for a limited time, Wild Grain will give my audience $30 off your first box, plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/Pacman to start your subscription. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box. The link is in the description.